What's up, fam? So today we'll be cutting a primal of ribeye. This weekend we're actually heading up to Lake Arrowhead and we have about 11 people. And so I was at Costco the other week and there was a huge sale last weekend where it was $75 off an entire primal of ribeye. It's huge, especially with beef prices these days. I thought it was a great idea to turn this into a little dinner for a get-together. So with that said, I'm going to be taking you through how to cut a prime rib, or a ribeye primal, and then vacuum sealing, and then, yeah, just getting it ready to take up. So with that said, let's go. So this is the ribeye primal, I believe, 18 pounds of it, $361. But the cool thing was last weekend there was a promotion for $75 off this package. So we're going to be taking this out of this package here. It's vacuum sealed, USDA prime, and then we'll be cutting it into steak-sized portions. So overall, this is a pretty straightforward process. You really don't need a ton of things. The couple things I would recommend is a long knife, or the longest knife you have that's been recently sharpened. And then on top of that, a maybe boning knife if you need to make some cuts to maybe the fat. But this one's completely optional. You don't really need it. But what you will need is a decent knife sharpener. This one's just a regular one out of Zwilling box. But highly recommend having a knife sharpener on hand so you can get your knives tip-top sharp when you're cutting these steaks. So you don't want to butcher and hack. You want to make sure you're doing nice long cutting strokes so you get a smooth surface on your steak. All right, let's begin. So what I'll do here, I have this whole cut. I'll make a cut to the top of the fat section because I don't want to damage the meat portions. So if I make a cut here, it's a little bit too deep, it's not going to damage it. We'll start from, this end, and always good to have some kitchen roll or some level of paper towels or towels on hand so that you can get ready for any level of blood or liquid that might come out of this bag. So it looks daunting, but in actuality, it's not too bad. You just want to make sure you have everything ready to go. And if you can see in the screen as well, I actually got my trash can right here on the side, so just to get ready for moving this plastic cryovac bag in there, as well as this roll of paper towels that will probably be halfway used for this, but once again, it's for keeping things tidy. So wipe down what you can. Ooh, it's a big boy, 18-pounder. All right, get that bloody mess into the bag. Into the garbage bag, and then let's finish wiping this down and getting this ready to cut. Sorry for the zoom in. So with the cleanup out of the way, we're going to cut this primal from left to right, and then I'll go ahead and I'll show you kind of the thickness as well as just kind of what the steaks look like inside. There will be some fat to trim kind of along this edge here. Usually when you get a ribeye from the store, you don't see this section here is because it's usually trimmed, but there is kind of this triangular angled piece of fat that is right here. It's pretty hard, relatively edible, but you can turn this into, tallow, or it would be considered suet. So it is just the fat that is left over from the ribeye. So on this first cut, what I'm going to be looking to do is I'm going to be cutting this little section off here. It's going to be kind of scrap meat. I could probably use this for vegetable minestrone that I have kind of for our group as well. But I want to do that so I can kind of angle out as well as straighten the cut. So from this cut and from this kind of tapered piece of meat, we'll be cutting kind of straight line in 2-inch increments from left to right. So we'll start from here, get this cut off, try to use nice long strokes, try not to hack too much. And wow, that right there, fam, is a prime ribeye. If you look at the marbling, wow, that is a gorgeous piece of meat. This actually is pretty dang good looking, so I'm glad I picked it. So with that said, I'm going to be cutting this from left to right, and then yeah, I'll just kind of speed you through this. So what you have here is about 2 inches. Let's do a little bit over here. I am planning to sous vide this steak so that it will be of a really even cook, as well as save myself time. Cooking for 10 people isn't the most, but you want to do everything you can to make sure that you are saving time, you're quick, tidy, all that kind of stuff, especially because we're on vacation. So yeah, let's get started with this first 2-inch cut of steak. And remember, you want to use long cuts. You don't want to just keep on making sawing motions per se. I'm not a master butcher by any means, but with that said, you want to make it nice and smooth. So if you see here, not a ton of cut marks, kind of relatively flat, straight. Yeah, looking forward to cutting this steak and seeing kind of what it looks like. Right here, if you notice, I guess it's one end of the ribeye where the spinalis muscle, which this part right here, is actually usually the most prized portion. So I'm actually excited to see this part as we cut through this primal grow and get bigger. And so right now this is the eye of rib, kind of what we see right here. Sorry about that. And then up here you have the spinalis muscle. So this is like the rib cap. So, and this is the that angular piece of fat, the suet, that I'll be cutting off later. But yeah, with that, let's keep on rolling. Woo, man. This thing is looking better and better and better. Wow, that's a good looking steak. Fat's a little big right here, but hey man, looking good. So like I was mentioning earlier, the deeper we get into this ribeye, you'll notice that the spinalis muscle will become more defined. As we get deeper and deeper into this, you're going to see more and more of this rib cap. Yeah, I have to say, looks pretty dang fire. I'll be trimming kind of this edge over here, and then we'll be eating this nice little ribeye. That might be a little over 2, but still looking good. So for this end section, I'll also be cutting this little end section off right here, so I can actually turn this into additional scrap meat, probably use this meat for the minestrone soup that I talked about earlier. And then yeah, after this I'll be cutting a little bit thinner steaks, and then we'll get to the vacuum sealing process. Oops. Yeah, and this is kind of exactly the reason why you want to use long cutting motions, because you can get leftover with these little things. So I'll go in here with the boning knife, and then I'll trim this up and I'll turn it flat. Don't waste that meat. It's good stuff. So instead of kind of like the 2-inch steak sizes that I've been doing, I'll probably cut them more into about an inch, inch and a half. And then from here, this is about 6 of those. So with that, we'll probably vacuum seal these guys up. And yeah, from there, we'll be pretty much done with the cutting portion. So I don't know if you saw there when I was cutting the steak, this flap popped up. So it kind of makes it seem that there is a tear from either the, I almost want to say during the processing at the meat factory, this part basically was cut somehow. And so that happens. It's not going to be perfect, but as long as it didn't damage the spinalis too much, I'm okay with it. So yeah, let's just keep on going. Not too bad by eye. That's pretty even, I would say. Pretty good. Pretty good. So instead of 6, I guess I'm only going to do 4 out of that leftover portion. But yeah, it's looking pretty dang good. Great spinalis. This I'll probably leave intact. Probably won't cut that just to cook it all together. The eye has a piece of fat kind of inside of it. But once again, I am not a professional butcher. I am just a food enthusiast, gourmand. But other than that, that's pretty much the entire steak cutting process. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed. And then, yeah, I'm going to vacuum seal these guys up. Probably not going to record that because it's pretty straightforward. You know, it's just vacuum sealing. But maybe I'll just show like 1 or 2, and then that'll be kind of the end of the video. But yeah, thank you. So this right here is my trusty vacuum sealer. Fantastic for basically processing and vacuum sealing, and more or less preserving and freezing large primals of meat like we just cut right behind here. So this is something I would highly recommend, unless if you can somehow, actually I don't recommend just taking a giant primal and then parting it and then putting it in Ziploc bags because you'll get freezer burn. But if you are going to be processing large cuts of meat, highly recommend getting a vacuum sealer. Food Saver is one of them. You can get these at Costco. When they're on sale, it's like 75 bucks. Fan-freaking-tastic. And yeah, it's a great way to store food. And then if you need to, you can always vacuum seal and then put it in the freezer. And then if you have an extra freezer somewhere else, like a chest freezer or a garage freezer, great place to just kind of have that, you know, just store away the steaks for the rest of the year. So with that, yeah. And on that note, usually, you know, I would say vacuum sealed stuff, meats are pretty good for, I would say minimum, like I've done 6 months on a steak and it was perfectly fine. I'm sure some people have done longer as well, but I would say if you want to kind of long-term freeze your meat without getting freezer burn in the freezer, highly recommend. So what this is right here, these are the bags. Since these are larger steaks, I'll be making custom sized bags, which probably about like a foot, maybe 13, 14 inches of plastic, cutting this off, sealing it on one end, and then I'll be making about like maybe, probably about like 9 of these bags here. So I've gone ahead, I've cut the plastic bag off, and then I'm going to be sealing the plastic bag here on the bottom to create the seal. Lock it here, press the seal button, and then wait for that light to go off. Takes about like 15, maybe 20 seconds to get to heat the little element, and then it'll create like this nice seal on the bottom. And it's done. Oh, not the straightest, but you'll see that line there. So I'm going to make about 9 more of these bags to seal away the ribeyes. Something else that I read on Reddit as well is you can always freeze these steaks just near immediately. What that's going to do, just for like a couple of hours, is It's going to just make sure the liquid inside the steaks doesn't leak out when you're vacuum sealing it. Not the biggest seal, I think we'll be okay today, but something I might do in the future. All right, so here I've made my bags, about 8 or 9 of them. With that said, we're probably going to start with these smaller bags. Probably use this to put in the smaller steaks that I cut at the end, and then yeah, I'll show you what that looks like in the vacuum sealer, and then I think we'll be done. Ooh, that looks really good. Put that in here. Nice and snug. And then what we'll do, open this bad boy up, put it right on here, get a nice seal. I'll probably put it on moist, just because when you vacuum seal it, some of the protein liquid will come out from the steak, and then from that, it's locked, and then I'm gonna hit vacuum seal. So it is a little noisy, but totally worth it. I'll start noticing the air coming out of the bag, and then some of that liquid. There you go. And there is one vacuum sealed ribeye. So what you see here is the ribeye vacuum sealed. This is the liquid that I was talking about that kind of comes out of the steak. So that's why sometimes people will freeze this so that this won't just leak out. Sometimes what that liquid will do here is it will more or less mess with or interfere with the seal here. And I noticed with the moist setting, it looks like the seal is a little bit thicker than normal, so I'm sure they probably add more heat to this plastic. So yeah, so with that said, that is a vacuum sealed steak. So I hope that was pretty straightforward. In my opinion, I think this is the best way to save a little money on meat. As we all know, meat is crazy expensive right now. I think the pound price for this ribeye was $20 a pound, and last week there was that huge sale, 75 bucks off, so that kind of averaged the cost down to about $15.50 per pound, and for a prime steak, that's fantastic. At Costco, I think the pound price was for prime ribeye was about 26 bucks, so you're saving $11, almost $11 on a ribeye, and so this is a great way if you can just put down the 300 bucks. This is a great way to put down and save meat for, the next couple of months at least. And yeah, if anything, hopefully it was a relatively educational tidbit for you so that you know how to process a giant primal ribeye, vacuum seal it, freeze it, sous vide it if you'd like. That's what I'll be doing with some of the larger ribeye cuts that I made. And yeah, with that said, thanks for watching. It's my first video, so we'll go from there. Take care, guys.